I'm not finna let no addict move in my house and put all his shit in the biggest room. That can't happen. And the house that I live in right now, it's big enough so that we could throw Sly Stone down in the basement and he could stay down there. But what you won't do is smoke the crackers in my basement. Oh, my life, bugs. Hello there, Bellas. If you have not already done so, please remember to like, share, subscribe, and tip your favorite narrator via Cash App at $NayRob on YouTube. And if you are not already a part of this book club, please hit the Patreon link below and or the join button right there here on the YouTube, and for a small monthly fee of $5, you babies, yes, you can be privy to all the shenanigans before the YouTube gets it, if the YouTube gets it. Now, baby, the Hines brothers. Now, let's continue reading Thank You for Letting Me Be Myself Again by Sly Stone. Baby, anyway, I thought I was going to be done with this book before the end of the month, but it seems like I'm going to be done at the end of the month. One night, Roger said something that hit Bootsy sideways, and Bootsy took off for the hotel. About a half hour before he was scheduled to go on stage, he still wasn't back. George sent me to go get him. I went to his room and started pounding on the door. Come on, I said. You made me promise I'd be good, but you're not being good. I could hear him laughing. He came back to the arena later, his point made. One afternoon, we were all at an airport when I heard a voice calling my name, my real name. Sylvester, Sylvester, Sylvester. I looked around, saw nothing, and then looked down and saw a lady in a wheelchair. You were real good last night on stage, she said. Usually I would just nod, but I felt proud. I bent down to give her a kiss on her cheek, but she had something else to say. About time you got your shits together. It was like she slapped me. I flinched. Fuck off, you will-need bitch, I said. All around me, people were starting to laugh. I might have laughed too. Another night, I felt lots of positive energy coming back from the audience. I was getting a good response from them when I sang, and when I waved, it got even louder. I felt like I was that kid up in front of the congregation again, sending out the spirit through the song. What I didn't know was that George was right behind me, naked. The crowd wasn't cheering for my ass. They were cheering for his. I got a little mad at him for that. Well, you know he tripping off the butt naked, baby. You know he's smoking the dippers. I mean, I know, okay. I get it, okay? Your ego is at stake, and we know that it is fragile. But if y'all back there smoking PCP together, the butt naked, you know eventually he gonna come outside with no clothes on. You know he gonna do it. I like working with George. Cynthia said something about how it was hard for me to play with Bobby Womack or Billy Preston for too long because we were all chiefs. And you needed some Indians. George was something else. He wasn't a musician in quite the same way. He was more like a comedian and a philosopher and a ringmaster, all rolled into one. I would agree. He asked me once if he should take formal music lessons. Never, I said. That would interfere with what he had. He was funky, all of his own, and he could give you 100 verses to illustrate it. In 1982, Olenka gave birth to a daughter, my third child. I thought of her name myself. In those days, I was mostly on the move, staying with friends. Each time I moved to a new place, I brought equipment, a keyboard, a microphone, set it up in the biggest room I could have, and got to writing and recording. Y'all, I am so sorry. I'm not finna let you move in my house knowing that you be getting high. I can't do it. That's why I'm like, only addicts can deal with addicts. I'm not finna be like, you know, when we read these books and we see how rich people look at these addicts and be like, just come to my house and live with me. I'll straighten you out and show you love. You can't love away addiction. You can't love away cheating. You definitely can't love away abuse. You know, you can think you can, but no. That's mental. And you can't love away mental instability. You need some help with that. Okay? Either a preacher or some psychotropic drugs. Or psychotherapy drugs, whatever that is. But I'm not finna let no addict move in my house and put all his shit in the biggest room. That can't happen. And the house that I live in right now, it's big enough so that we could throw Sly Stone down in the basement and he could stay down there. But what you won't do is smoke the crackers in my basement. Or what do they call it? What do they call basements now? They don't call them basement no more. They call them the conversion room. Some shit. I don't know. I'm very excited about my first guest, the man said. One of the most controversial figures in the world of entertainment. This time I knew where I was. New York City, Rockefeller Center for a late night with David Letterman. I came out wearing a sweatsuit, sneakers, and sunglasses. Not very controversial. And I even took the sunglasses off. David Letterman started the interview by asking me why I hadn't been much in the public eye in recent years. I got tired, I said. So I retired. Let me tell you the sweetest part about this interview. He was just raw. There was no added glitter or glam to him. If he was known for expressing himself through his fashion, in that moment, I still feel like he was expressing himself because he was just him. Tracksuit, sneakers. I mean, I still be fucked up with them wigs he be wearing. Some of y'all may believe that, you know, that might have been his bush, but I don't know. Because you could catch him with a crochet updo any time of day in 2025. So I think the purest thing about that interview was that as he appeared on that couch, he appeared raw, sweet, innocent, and humble. He's always been a humble man, but it was a cool guy created by drugs, if I'm explaining it right. But anyway, let me move forward. He was talking about his new music, which was good, by the way, because he did perform a song on the David Letterman show. But he also was trying to get work for some of the people he was working with. He was so humbled and desperate at the same time for himself and the other cats, quote unquote, that he even gave out the number of the people. And that was something that you never did. You never gave out the number. And, you know, considering this time, it was no need for an area code. So you could just say the number. It was almost like 7779311. He literally gave that number out. And it was the rawest thing he ever did. He showed humility and desperation. Before we got any further, I had an announcement. I've got some guys in Chicago that I'm calling the One-Eyed Jacks, I said. Mainly because that's what they called themselves before I met them. Jack wanted me to give his phone number out. Letterman didn't want me to do it. He worried that Jack might get a lot of prank calls. That's okay, I said. Jack prepared for that. Jack was Jack Sweeney, the group's keyboard player. I had been staying with him in Chicago, in Marquette Park, sometimes gigging a few hours south in Decatur. Pause. If that's the least you can do, if you staying with him, and you know he ain't got no money to pay no rent because he's smoking it all up, Lulu, if you don't get the fuck out of there, I swear to the... Why? If that's the least he can do, you want your number to be told on American television? Okay. The conversation turned to my reputation for missing shows. Every interview still had beats. I told Letterman how promoters had double booked me, triple booked me, set up guarantee bonds for these impossible situations and split the forfeiture money. They tricked me, I said. It just sounds like a bet. They knew you. They bet on you didn't show. Basically. Okay, so but Slide to me has a different way of thinking, you know. He doesn't get that his reputation is so jacked up that a person can still make money off of you even when you're just being you. We moved on to the second predictable beat, troubles with the law. There had been an arrest earlier that month in Illinois. That spring in a Florida bar, I met a guy who was booking small clubs. He lined up a few gigs for me, including a pair of summer shows in Fort Lauderdale, billed as Sly and the Family Stone, though I wasn't with any of the original band members. It went well enough that I was scheduled to play the next night in Fort Myers at a bar and restaurant called Harry's. I flew down there in a private plane owned by a man and a woman I had met at my Fort Lauderdale gig. I don't remember much about the Fort Myers show except that it wasn't memorable. I may have been a little late and a little out of date. Afterward, I went back to the Ramada Inn with the girl from the plane. The guy from the plane was treating her bad, beating on her. She peeled off and came with me. We went up to my room and drew the curtains. The next morning, I called down for some food. The room service people came up, but when they knocked on the door, I didn't answer. When they knocked on it again, I didn't answer again. They got a key and entered, expecting ... I don't know. The worst? That's not what they got. They got me on one bed and the girl on another bed, both of us asleep. Next to her on the bed was a razor and a torch. On the table were bottles of butane. The cops called the paramedics. The paramedics asked me if I wanted to go to the hospital. I didn't. Back came the cops who arrested me and brought me to the jail. The charge was cocaine plus something ridiculous, like not paying off a restaurant bill. There were 4 other guys in the cell that night, picked up for who knows what. I kept to myself and slept to myself, staying in there for a day and a half or so until I was bonded out. Later, I heard that a kid who worked in the public defender's office had been at the show and got himself a copy of my booking sheet as a souvenir. At sentencing, the judge told everyone at court that he was worried I wouldn't show up. But there I was, getting a $2,500 fine and 6 months of rehab. The rehab was at the Lee Mental Health Clinic in Fort Myers. Olenka brought Nova to see me there. She was real little, not even 2. James Brown called me when I was there. Michael Jackson did too. Michael was respectful, always that way, and extremely so, to the point where I would sometimes wonder if he was for real. I wanted to know about his shiz, The moonwalk was everywhere that year, but he only wanted to talk about my music. I mean, So let me tell you the funniest part about me and Mickey Howard's dynamic. When I tell you I be so enamored at that lady when we be around each other, but she be just as enamored with me as I am of her. And I'm like, what? Girl, do you know I'm nobody? Girl, do you know you slept with the Gerald Levert girl? After a few months, I started to go out on the road with Bobby Womack, y'all. I was still in treatment, but I'd get loaned out for a weekend to perform. I got to the shows on time and then did cup tests before I came back into the center to prove I wasn't using. The tests were always clean, even though at some point I wasn't. I had an inside connection helping me. San Diego summer, Jack Murphy Stadium, Cool Jazz Festival. Bobby Womack was there playing the second night. Had played already, in fact, which was why he was backstage and I was going to see him there. Bobby was cooling out, talking to a young woman. She had long dark hair and was wearing a pink t-shirt dress that was buttoned and belted. Arleene, she said, introducing herself. She had auditioned to be a background singer with Bobby the year before, left for an opportunity that didn't pan out, and was coming back to see if she could go out with him again on the road. I'm sorry, he said. All the spots are filled. You should have asked me, I said. I was joking, trying to get her attention. Who are you? She said. I'm Sly, I said. She didn't know what that meant. I didn't hit on her that night. Instead, we talked. She was 20 years old from New York, half Jewish, half Dominican, had danced on Soul Train. I invited her to come see me and Bobby played the next night in Oakland. I don't have any way of getting there, she said. You could fly on someone else's ticket back then. So I gave her a plane ticket up to the Bay Area. The next day, Freddie picked her up at the airport and brought her to the Urbano house where she met Big Mama and Big Daddy. And then Freddie put her back in the car and brought her to my show. I had to fly back to Rehab in Florida between performances. And there were some other things I had to do on judges' orders. Bobby and I went on the Today Show to discuss the dangers of drugs. But I started calling Arleene as often as I could, which turned out to be almost every day for 2.5 months. She was easy to talk to, and it was easy for me to talk. Rehab ended around her birthday, August 3rd. She was turning 21 and having a party. I'll be there, I said. She laughed. But when the night came, I walked right in the door. She was celebrating along with a friend of hers named Gina, who had danced with her on Soul Train, dated Richard Pryor, and worked for the Jackson family. When I came in, I could tell the eyes of the crowd were on me. I walked past the cake. Gina, 23, Arleene, 21. Found Arleene and took her hand. You're with me from now on, I said.